Hello everyone, welcome back to this YouTube channel. I hope you are doing very well. So today we are going to learn how to do some form validations. As you can see here in those three inputs, we have a solid red line. If you don't put the correct thing inside, you will have this kind of red line around the input. If you put the correct one like this one, we need to have 5 letters, for example. Let me write the 5 letters and see if this red line will change. Let's say A, B, C, D, E, yes. Now we have a solid green line, so it means it is valid. If we do the same here and here, all will change to green solid lines. So let's do that from scratch. So I'm going to run it and show you how we make those kind of form validations. Here we go. Let's get started. So right now I have a little bit of CSS here and some HTML, but this thing we can run it and see what's going here. We just have this form validation from here, the header 1 and the header 2. Enter your contacts and comment below. So we're going to see from where it started. It started from this form element tag. So inside this form element tag, we need, after those 2 headers, we need to have an ordered list element tag called UL, and inside those tags we are going to have the list items we want to create. List item here. Inside the first list item we need a label element. Let's write label here and close it. So first of all, we're going to give a name for our label as a username. Username. Go in small case like this. Column. For the label, we need an attribute here called for, and we can give the name of the attribute like this, uname or username. We abbreviate like this. And after that we need an input element here. Let's write it input element. So this input is going to have something called an attribute type. And the type here where is the magic started. So we can write text. This one is the value of this attribute, and can give a name attribute here. It's a uname, for example, and also an ID attribute if we want, and same uname, and so on. So right now let's copy this to 2 other inputs we need, like this one and like this one. So first of all we need a username, and here we need an email address. Let's write email address. Oh no. Yes, here we go. We can also write this name here, email. Here, as you can see, email. And here the name also email and the attribute email, for example. Email. Yes. And for the phone number, we're going to write it here. Let's write phone number. And here the attribute value, or the value of this attribute, is tel. Yes. For the name attribute, we have this phone here, and also phone over here. Yes, that's nice. And we need also to write another list item called, for the big comment, where we will have the comment, because those three are inputs. If we save it, they're already saved, and we come here, we reload, we just have three different inputs here. As you can see, we need for the comment one, down here, let's say another list item, and inside it we have label attribute. Yes, and here we can write comment. Yes, and the attribute for this label is for and comment. Down here we need an element tag called text area, like this, so that we will have a big space if we have a very long comment to do. And this here, we're going to have some attributes too, like name attribute, let's say comment, an ID attribute, also comment. Yes. Now we're going to talk about the magic. As you can see, I'm saving it, and we still need the submit button down here. Now we have this. So right now we can write as we want a very long comment here. But we need another button down here to submit, like a submit button. Let's come down here, write another list item and button element. Button, yes. Now we're going to give the name of this button like submit. Oh, yes, submit. Let's save it and come here, reload. Now we have a submit button here. But as you can see, we don't have those red lines down here to validate, because we don't need, for example, to submit an empty input from here, here, and here. We need something to be imported before we make the submission. So for that, like as you can see right now, if I submit, it's going. But if we put the magic I showed you at the beginning, or it is not a magic, but we can call it like this if we want. So we're going to make those validations to be these three inputs to be required before the submission is done. So here we have to come here and start writing, for example, an attribute called required, like down here. This means this input is required. We cannot, for example, submit without doing something inside this. Let me save here, come here, show you, for example. Let's reload. As you can see, we cannot override it we have to put something inside this input before we continue, as it is saying here by default. Please fill out this field. Yes, we're going to do the same for these two. Let's come here, and add the required attribute also there, and here too. Required. Those three inputs are required before we can submit whatever. Let me say, come here, for example, reload here. As you can see, if I put something here now, it can go to next. It cannot submit because those two are required, as you can see. Yes, required. For example, if I continue here, I want to submit letting this one empty. It will not work. Please. Now here we need also an email format. So we need, for example, something like this, email. So we can go to the next. These requirements is coming from this attribute email. If we don't add this at here, it will not pass, it will not accept it. So that's the nice thing we're going to learn how to make today. Now let's see down here what kind of phone number and submit. Yes. So for the input to be required, we need to have some kind of styling. If the requirement is not done, we will add a solid red line around the input. If, for example, the requirement is well done, then we can have another solid green line around the inputs. We also need to, for example, decide how many letters we can give to name, like how many letters, like max length for the letters, how long. And also this one we can require how many characters we need for the comment, not putting hundreds and thousands of, for example, letters. We just can say we need 100 letters or 200 as we want. Let's come here and also make those things. For example, here we can say minimum length for the name. We need a name which has minimum length, an attribute called min length. We can give it, for example, 5. The name must be at least 5 letters. If we save here and I come here, start submitting is not going, and I write 4 letters, for example, A, B, C, D, and I want to submit. So now this is not, we didn't run it here. Let me run it again and restart. A, B, C, D, and C. As you can see here, by default we are having this. Please use at least 5 characters. You are currently using 4 characters, so we need 1 character more to have this validation done. That's because we have this one, min length 5. And we can also define the maximum length of the name. How many length, like max length, we can say, for example, 10, so that nobody will have to put a name longer than 10 letters. Yes. And also here for the phone number, we can say the max length to, like max length 15, for example, or 10 or 8 as we want. Let me say, for example, 10 max length for the number. And also here the comments, we can decide how many characters or how many letters we need for this comment. Let's say max length, how much we need. Let's say 200 or 100 letters. Yes, those are the requirements we have to fulfill before we continue. We can reload it, come here and delete this one. You can see here. Yes, we are going to the next one. This one we have how many? Maximum is 10. So the phone number cannot have more than 10 characters. And also this comment area, only 100 letters we need. But to make these requirements shown with the red solid line, we have to use some styling over here. So for that styling we need a CSS. We come here to see, because we have those inputs right now, input. We need to get this input selector here, and we also need a pseudo class called invalid. Yes, between curly braces we can now define when the input is invalid. When, for example, an input is invalid, what can we give as a border? For example, we can come here and define it. Let's say the border will be like, how big? Let's say 3 pixels. We can have a solid, for example, solid red value. Let's save this one and see over here. As you can see, now we have those. We have those borders in red because those ones are required. But if we need to fulfill this A, B, C, D, E, we need also to add a solid green so that we know this requirement is fulfilled. For that we need to come down here, also say another input and pseudo class called, if you can guess it. Now we have, let's say we have invalid here, now we have valid down here, pseudo class, and between curly braces we have also to write border property here and give it, let's say 4 pixels or 3, also 3 pixels, solid, now green. Yes, we can save it, solid green, and reload here. As you can see, when I have reloaded this one, the requirement is okay. If I take one letter off, you will see the red border coming back, and this also is working now. The email address, let's write something. If we don't write this one, now it's working. Also, as you can see here, we need a number. We need some numbers. We cannot submit without giving some numbers, and the numbers we need maximum 10. If you can count here, you can see we cannot go more than 10. Let's say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we can no longer add anything because we have this requirement here, max length is 10, as you can see. Right now, this one, we just, this requirement for the comment side is just max length 100. So we cannot write more than 100 letters in this comment side. As you can see here, I can submit and restart. That is how we do this from validation, and you can play with it as you like. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel from here, and see you next time. Enjoy the learning. Bye bye.